This video is part 2 of a two-part series on how to loom knit a rainbow baby blanket. In part 1, we created the first panel out of 6 panels, and today we're going to learn how to join new panels using the loom. I'll break things down step by step so it will be easy to understand. The result will be a smooth join without any ridges, and it will look fantastic on both sides. You'll be able to use this joining technique using different looms and different kinds of yarn and for different projects, whether it's for a sweater or a larger blanket. Thank you for watching Ms. Yarn. If you haven't subscribed yet, please click subscribe so you don't miss out on any of my easy to follow loom knitting tutorials. Since we completed panel A in the part 1 video, today we're going to cover number 1, how to join panel A to panel B at the cast on edge. Number 2, how to complete the cast on for panel B. Number 3, how to do the garter stitch body. Number 4, how to join the last stitch of panel A to panel B. And number 5, how to bind off on panel B. Once you've completed panel A, use a stitch marker to mark the right side of your panel. I've used some yellow yarn. When you start joining panels, the right side needs to face you. Next, it's important that you take a close look at your garter stitch. You need to distinguish between umbrellas and smiles. This is an umbrella, and this is a smile. This bump is the first umbrella that will join to panel B. It will integrate the cast-on edge. The second umbrella will be part of row 1, and the third umbrella will be part of row 2. You can put stitch markers on these umbrellas if you will find that helpful, but I'm just going to leave mine as is. Let's start joining by putting the first umbrella onto peg 12. Let's take our panel B color, in my case it's gray, and let's put a slip knot on the anchor peg. Wrap peg 12 once, and it doesn't matter if it's counterclockwise or clockwise. Knit over the bottom loop. That's the umbrella from panel A. It will be a bit tight, but that's to be expected. Now we have successfully joined panel A to the cast-on edge of panel B. Now that we've joined the first stitch from panel A, let's complete the cast-on for panel B. Wrap peg 11 twice, clockwise, and knit over the bottom loop. This is the second stitch of the double E-wrap cast-on. Continue the double E-wrap cast-on until you've cast it on onto peg 1. Here we are wrapping peg 1 twice and knitting over. And now we have completed the cast-on for panel B. Let's start row 1 of the garter stitch body by purling on peg 1. Now let's purl our way towards the left. Here we are purling on peg 11. Let's make sure that panel A is facing us. So for me, I'm looking for that yellow piece of yarn. Now let's purl on peg 12. Let's find the next umbrella. I'm pointing it out with my yarn needle. Put this umbrella on peg 13. Peg 13 is our waiting room peg. Move the loop from peg 12 to peg 13. Knit over on peg 13. Move the loop from peg 13 to peg 12. Row 1 is done, and no loops are in the waiting room anymore. So let's start row 2. Now knit on peg 11. And knit towards the right of your loom. Now let's take the slip knot off of our anchor peg. And we'll resume our knitting towards the right. Now we've completed row 2. Now for row 3, we'll do what we did for row 1. We purl from peg 1 to peg 12. Here we're purling on peg 11 and purling on peg 12. And now let's find the next umbrella. I'm showing it to you with the yarn needle. Let's put that umbrella onto peg 13. Now move the loop from peg 12 to peg 13. Knit over on peg 13. Move the loop from 13 to 12. Now row 3 is done. And for row 4, we will knit from peg 11 to peg 1. Row 4 is just like row 2. On your own, continue the 2-row repeat of the garter stitch while joining panel A to panel B. Let's meet again when it's time to join the last row. See you soon. So at this point, I've worked quite a bit and I'm approaching the bind off edge, and I'd like to point out the last few umbrellas. This is the third last umbrella, the second last umbrella, and the very last umbrella. You might want to put a stitch marker on the very last one so it's easier to see. Let's get back to our garter stitch now, and we'll meet again when it's time to join that last umbrella. At this point, I've worked a couple of rows and I'm about to join that last stitch, which is that last umbrella. I have purled on peg 12. I'm identifying that last stitch, which is the last umbrella. I put that last stitch on peg 13. I move the loop from 12 to 13. I knit over on 13, then I move that loop to peg 12. We've successfully added the last stitch of panel A to panel B. Wrap peg 11 very tightly to avoid a hole. And we just need to finish off our final knit row before we move to the purl bind off. We no longer need peg 13 for anything. And now our final knit row is done. We're now ready for the purl bind off. It's almost entirely identical to the bind off for panel A, except for the last part. Let's purl loosely on peg 1. We'll purl again on peg 2. Put the loop on peg 1. Knit over on peg 1. Move the loop from peg 1 to peg 2. Now we have a new peg 1 and a new peg 2. We'll do the same sequence and purl on peg 2. Put the loop on peg 1. Knit over on peg 1. Move the loop from peg 1 to peg 2. Now we have a new peg 1 and a new peg 2. Now follow the same sequence towards the left side of the loom. We've reached the left side of the loom, so let's purl on peg 12. Put the loop on peg 11 and knit over. Let's cut the tail. And take the loop off of the loom. Let's move the loom out of the way. In case you're wondering why there are suddenly multiple panels, you're seeing all the panels because I re recorded the last stitch after I finished the whole blanket. So here is my second try. So take your loop, and what you're going to do is pull it out completely. Okay, there you go. Now we're going to weave in the ends. Thread your needle and make the wrong side of the blanket face you. We can see how smooth the join is at the back. Let's bring the yarn under a strand of gray, and then we will weave in the yarn through that column. I have a lot of yarn, so I'll go up the column a bit further. Now I'm going to go in the other direction. And I'll bring the yarn back down the column. And I've broken my yarn needle in the process. So I'll just pull the yarn without the help of the needle. And I'll cut off the excess yarn. And let's have a look at how these panels have been joined. I think it looks really good. It's very smooth and flat. Now let's move to the cast on edge to weave in the other tail. Thankfully, I have an extra yarn needle at home, so I didn't have to go to the store. Let's thread our yarn needle. Let's make the wrong side of the blanket face us. So let's exit that column, but then re-enter that column by going under a few strands of yarn. On the right side of the blanket, this tail is still invisible. There's a lot going on in this column and it's pretty tight. So I'm not too worried about how secure this tail is going to be. So let's pull the yarn, but we have to be careful not to pull too hard because we don't want the fabric to pucker. Let's go through the column a bit more. Now, since I want to change directions, I'm going to exit that column, go through a couple of gray strands in the body of that panel, and then re-enter the column. So after I've hid my tail in the column, I'm just going to cut off the excess yarn. Let's have a look at the fabric again so we can see how well we have joined these panels. This is the wrong side of the blanket and it's looking nice and smooth. Now this is the right side of the blanket and the right side is also nice and flat. So once you have completed your panel B, go ahead and add multiple panels in the same way as you joined B to A. In my case, my next panel was yellow, and I'm showing you a photo here. I then moved on to the color orange. So orange is my panel D. If you're wondering what that yellow piece of yarn is, that's a stitch marker to tell me which side is the right side of the blanket. So after orange, I used the color pink. So pink was my panel E. I then used a burgundy color for panel F, and the final dimensions of my blanket were about 31.5 inches by 35.5 inches. And these are unblocked dimensions. After washing your blanket, your dimensions might change. So go ahead and complete your project by joining panels in the way that I've shown you. You can use whatever yarn is right for your loom. And feel free to look at other very good joining methods by searching up 10 stitch blankets or how to join panels on a loom. You'll see some great videos by other YouTubers. And if this video was useful in any way, please press like and leave me a comment. That will really help me out. I'll see you in the next video.